We're leapfrogging into the future today, beyond the part-completed rebuild of our 1930 Panther engine, which sharp-eyed viewers will note lurking on the bench. Time travel isn't just for science fiction, and you don't need a DeLorean. My Panthers take me into the past on frequent occasions. And don't worry, you won't miss anything, because next session we'll return and revisit the past. This is the promised conversion of the Panther's Dynamo drive from that finger-hungry duplex chain to a poly-vee belt. And many thanks to those who have explored this idea in the club magazine Sloper and written up their work there and on the Panther Facebook group. This is just my personal take on a well-trodden path. First stage is to remove the duplex sprocket from the magneto drive shaft by filing off peened rivets, taking them back to the surface so they can be drifted out. The sprocket is held in vice soft jaws, and I set my patience levels to maximum. But the job is surprisingly quick. With all 4 rivets taken flush with the surface, the sprocket is supported between vice jaws, and I knock the spindle out. Next job is to mark and slice a piece of 3-inch aluminium bar. There's no power hacksaw in my workshop, but the exercise will keep me fit and without the gymnasium fees. As a time traveller, you won't have to be present through the whole process, as I was. Just listen to the changing note as my saw wears through. A rest for aching arms, and I run up the lathe to face off the first side. The centre must be bored out to 2 inches for a snug fit on the spindle back plate, and then with the blank attached we can machine it accurately on the shaft. There's a lot of material to remove, and I begin the process with a centre drill. progressing to ever larger, arguably less boring bits. When my granddaddy twist drill has grumbled through, I change to an internal turning tool and continue the process, checking the size more frequently as I approach that magic number. Almost there, a trial cut lets me ease the spindle assembly in before I run right through. A final cut without further adjustment of the cross slide, known as a spring cut, takes off the gnat's whisker for that perfect snug fit. A tiny lip remains against the jaws. With the blank reversed, I skim that out and turn the second face parallel to the required thickness. Angie comes in to announce coffee time, bravely, because she is vocal in her dislike of the smell of metal. I sometimes wonder that our partnership has lasted for 48 years.
Hello!
Jan won't come till her parcel comes, so do you think it's coffee time?
Oh yeah, sure.
Maybe my liking for the smell of garden flowers creates the necessary balance. But talk among yourselves, and I'll be back shortly. Break over, and with the spindle fitted I set the assembly in the drill press and bore through the first hole in the flange. With a nut and bolt to secure it, I drill the other 3, bolt up, and holding the chuck by its shaft, give it a final skim of the diameter, ready to receive the poly-vee grooves. Accuracy is vital here because a dynamo under load creates a surprising amount of resistance. The drive will slip without good contact between belt and pulley. The makers provide information regarding pitch and angle, and we're talking fine tolerances here. The pitch, that is the distance between the peaks of adjacent V's, is 2.34 millimeters. An accuracy beyond the scope of my lathe's divisions. But I have a trick up my sleeve, courtesy of an inventive YouTuber who some years ago suggested digital tire tread depth gauges as the basis of a simple digital readout for lathes. The electronics of these were probably not intended for tire use, the scale reading to 2 decimal places, which is a bit over the top for tire wear. These things are cheap and soon modified with a couple of neodymium magnets embedded in the back and a third one on the end of the sliding element. With 2 of these I have accurate DROs for attachment to bed and cross slide, giving pitch and depth indication to the required accuracy. Here they are in action. In machining terms, my method is not ideal. As in thread cutting, the tool should be advanced into the workpiece at an angle, cutting one face, not driving in at right angles to cut both simultaneously. But in aluminium alloy, the tool has an easy time and makes a clean enough job if not pushed. Offered up, the belt is a snug fit, and road trials will tell. The smaller Dynamo pulley is turned to size, and the same process creates its belt grooves. I remove the sprocket, measure the Dynamo shaft's small diameter, and centre drill and bore the pulley blank to that size. and then with a 6-degree angle set on the compound slide, I run through with an internal tool. The empirical suck it and see approach ensures a snug fit, because with tapers near enough is not good enough. A fraction of a degree makes all the difference. Another shorter session on the hacksaw, and dressed in my winter overalls, the workshop's 8 or 9 degrees Celsius is plenty warm enough. These relatively cheap Chinese-made lathes imported to the UK by Clark may leave something to be desired, but used with care I've found mine accurate enough for my needs. I give the hacksawed face a skim and add a corner chamfer. A trial with the Dynamo shaft proves that my original taper is a fraction steep. A tiny adjustment and a further skim from the bore soon has it settling snugly onto the pulley. And that's your lot for now, but it shouldn't take more than a week or 3 to travel back in time and bolt the rest of the engine together. Summer rides are planned.